My name is Amish. This is my second time being a table leader. I work with Kimberly Clark. I'm Global Technology Strategy Lead for them, and I am based in Irving. I was a bit late to the proceedings today, and I noticed that there were a lot of people at my table, which was great, a great bunch of people. And I also noticed that the question on my table was really long-winded. And it left me answering questions and wow, this is gonna be a good topic. We talked about quantum, and more specifically, what is a quantum threat to cybersecurity? And as often happens with these types of discussions, everybody comes from a different background. Everybody has a lot that they've read, and they've got a lot of ideas and opinions on how to read about something, or how to think about something, and ours was no different. I typically come to these sessions with a lot of prompts and a lot of ideas. We certainly didn't get through anywhere close to the list of things because it was just a lively discussion. It was a great time. But in terms of understanding a few things, number one, the first point really was, when we're talking about quantum, first of all, what is it to us? What do we take away when we look at it? And not unsurprisingly, it's about unprecedented computing power, right? It's about uncertainty. It's about a security risk. It's about the duality. To use it for good, you can use it for bad, and which hand is going to tip closer and quicker and faster. It is a geopolitical race. There's a handful of countries with some real stakes, some real capital stakes to be able to make a difference in this space. And everybody knows by that if there is a quantum threat that materializes, then there is likely only a handful of places that you need to look to be able to start your assessment or investigation of where things may have originated from. The reality, though, is that's about as good as it gets. Beyond that, things get incredibly murky, and increasingly so. The rate of change that we have seen in just the last 2 years has been unprecedented. If we think about the pace of change and how long it took for different technologies to reach 50 million users, starting from the radio, going down to Pokemon. Pokemon took about a year and a bit to get to 50 million users. And then in 2022, OpenAI unleashed ChatGPT. Does anybody have any guesses as to how long it took them to reach 50 million users?
2 weeks?
In about a month and a half, they have reached 300 million people around the world. And one of the things that is really critical about quantum in that, and was a lively source of debate, was fundamentally, we're talking about computing power at such massive scale that you can crack algorithms quicker. But the reality is, everybody's talking a good game about whether or not they've actually achieved quantum. If you go back some 20-something years ago, remember when all of us had compact Presario PC, desktop PCs and IBM? I see some faces nodding, yep, we had one of those, right? Remember the big fights used to be around the Pentium chip?
Yep.
And how much, Pentium 2.8, Pentium 3.6 something was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread in 2004. And back then people used to say, you know what? This is as good as it's gonna get, because in order to beat this, you have to beat the speed of light. And if you look at semiconductor technology today, what they've done is they've grown smaller. They found a way to go smaller on a transistor chip so that you've got more engines on one space working in unison to try and increase compute capacity. And the reality is that's effectively what we're doing with these gigafactories and these different mainframes, right? The mainframes have a new lease of life. I thought cloud was supposed to be the next best thing. Cloud is the next best thing to gigafactories being built at scale all over the place. But the reality is that with all of that comes its own risk. When we think about industries at risk, you could argue that every industry is at risk as a result of it. Finance is going to be the one that's investing the most capital. that have the most at stake. You've got healthcare, energy, critical infrastructure, the grid. All of these things come to play. But it's really about a really big, powerful box with a lot of compute cycles being able to break an algorithm quicker. Second portion of the conversation really went to the notion of psychological attitudes about how we today as human beings are the product, right? So we talked about the idea of 23andMe. They had a hack recently. I myself am somebody who was a subscriber, right? All of our data got compromised. But the bigger question was, people like us of a certain demographic were scandalized by the idea of being involved in a data breach of that sort. What about the next generation? What are they willing to trade for the price to play for a digitized economy, for the things that we take for granted today, which when you look at social media, when you go out there and you look at the world at large, you go to the Nordics, you go to Japan. I've had 5 people come back from Japan this year saying they live in 2050. Saying, no, they live now in 2025. The rest of the world is behind, right? Have they cracked quantum? No, but have they digitized and found a way to digitize every single element of their lives around them? They're certainly striving to do that. But the question is, what happens when you need to go even faster, right? We didn't walk away with a clear view on how we're gonna go mitigate the threat. We did leave the table with a view on how far away we thought it was gonna be. Many experts say we're about 10 to 24 years away from it. Others, bullish. 2 years, 3 years. It's an open question I ask all of you. Slide of hands, if you get a raise of hands, how far away does everybody think we are from quantum computing? 2 years.
6.
6, okay. 5 years.
5, yeah.
About 5.
5, 10, 20. Okay? Pretty divided group.
Do mathematics, the algorithms. You can get the hardware, find me an algorithm that actually works other than cracking crypto.
Exactly.
You got nothing.
That's
So-
the point of transition into actual
All the physics degrees and all the majors in college.
So, I mean, broadly speaking, all of us work for organizations at different levels of maturity in our respective industries, right? The reality is that none of us are immune to the challenges that befall all of us. We all deal with tech complexity. We all deal with the same challenges when it comes to cloud, when it comes to AI, when it comes to cybersecurity. How do we mitigate costs? How do we protect the networks? How do we look at OT convergence if it's looking at plant infrastructure, we've got higher factory infrastructure? The reality is that you're going to need to solve for these challenges for quantum in much the same way as you would try to solve for them when you're dealing with any other emerging tech. You're still going to need to inventory what your current encryption protocols are. You're going to need to assess risk. You're going to have pilot hybrid models. We haven't as yet got to the point where we have a special pathway for how we're going to treat quantum, at least not one that is consistently aligned to by everybody as a place. But that was the long and the short of it in terms of what we discussed. Bottom line, if you can't prepare now, then you turn a looming threat into an opportunity for resilience. And while it's not something that you necessarily need to worry about around the corner right now, everything needs to be done in the context of the organization that you're with and the industry that you're in. That's about it.
Thank you, Ramesh. My name is Juhi Chawla. I am the division CIO for Brinks for the North America market. I'm gonna change what Ramesh said. He's solving for the future. My table was solving for now, which is a plain old AI, hyperautomation. How do we survive it? Most of us are still figuring that out. My table had manufacturing, financial services, airlines, commercial real estate, healthcare, CPGs, representation, and all of us, data and data privacy and data sensitivity is different for all of us, but the theme was common. One of the biggest issues in getting AI implemented is data privacy, data security, most importantly, and believe you may want to sit on my table if you want to, is data connectedness and the disparate sources of data to get AI actually implemented and showing the business case and the ROI that most of us are promising our boards or our CEOs. One interesting comment that I think everybody knows, but it's hard to say, what we have implemented in AI today has a big impact, clear impact on the bottom line without operating profit. But really the top line benefits of AI, not many people, well, I won't say not many people have gotten it done, but it's tougher to show or use AI for the top line. Also, it's different, and I'll quantify that with many product companies are probably there with that top line with AI, but a lot of servicing companies are still figuring that aspect out. Some of the challenges that we spoke outside of data were skill sets, depth by POCs. Every day there are 50 plus people who want to come, who want to showcase their AI, who can do everything apparently under the sun, and really want that 2 days, 10 days of workshop with you to go get things going. So how do you choose? How do you differentiate on the other side of the table? Who is the right partner? Who is the right fit? Right? Everybody gets that. That's the X factor. How do you identify what makes up that X factor? Was a good conversation. Then we had, of course, go to market, business case and ROI, and how do you really budget for AI was a good question, and some good answers around what do you do? Do you really stair step your business ROI with that? And I'm pretty sure everybody has been trying to do that. Accuracy validation. Learning LLM. Do you host LLM? When we started to get on the technical side, how do you make sure that your data stays protected? And do you really have the ability to build versus buy? Were some of the good conversations that we had. In summary, we all are trying to dabble in it. There is not a technology person who doesn't encounter AI, who is not asked for a productivity saving around AI, whether that's truly reducing or preventing any additional or cost savings, if you may, right? How do you get ahead of it? How do you identify, at the same time, make sure that your organization stays secure, your organization, you can stand by it, by its savings, by its future, and then still be able to sell it and say, hey, just give me $2 million and I'll get us. That's all I need. Thank you, guys.
All right, I'm James Carpenter. I'm the CISO of Scottish Rite Hospital for Children, just down the road in Dallas. We got to deal with the security aspect of AI. So our topics were AI-generated phishing and social engineering, deepfake, synthetic identity fraud, and AI versus AI, countering emerging threats. Yes, and fun fact, I actually worked for Compaq a long time ago. Love that question. I was the Intel. I was in the Pentium Club. I'll keep it short. All those topics kind of distilled into a common set of discussions. These are bad things that are happening that we need to prevent. So if we think about it in that context, each one of these had a lengthy discussion, but essentially AI is supercharging the bad guy. So the bad guy of old could have bad grammar, didn't really have a good story, you wouldn't fall for stuff. So AI is augmenting their capability to produce a decent amount of threat to you and get more results from his threats. So one of the takeaways for your organization that you might consider in your educational programs is a culture of skepticism. There is in everybody a nature of curiosity. I didn't order anything from the United States Postal Service. Well, maybe I'll click that just to see what's in there. That's not good. So we need to start working on the culture of skepticism. So that was a takeaway. And then talking about deep fakes, that's a real deal. I don't know. We talked a little bit about people that do job interviews, and the person that's showing up on the camera isn't the actual person that'll show up to your company and so forth. And there's a bunch of iterations of deep fakes in the form of videos and whatnot. But one of the takeaways after a lengthy discussion is, well, why don't you just consider going old school? For example, step away from the technology. A lot of the bad guys, ultimately, when they overcome your technical controls, will try to do something like go change a bank account number. Well, just go old school, go off technology, and have the person that changes your bank account number call the person and say, hey, did you want to change your bank account number? I mean, that's defeating all this modern technology by just having a conversation. So we don't have to keep our head down, hunkered in the computers all the time. We can talk to each other, and that will overcome a lot of stuff. And this kind of covers everything here, because the last topic was AI versus AI. I think a lot of organizations are worried about, should we adopt AI? And we don't want AI companies using our data to train their models and things like that. But kind of a use case for AI is what we're talking about here. The deep fakes and ways to counter that is a layered defense methodology. So it's actually useful to have AI go ahead and be part of your defense in your layered defense against these things for the commodity transactions that you don't want your cybersecurity team working on. Go ahead and use AI to filter that stuff out. I think there's products like LexisNexis and things like that out there. But when it comes time to actually check out the dude on the camera or change the bank account, that's where that additive control comes in the layered defense model. So use AI to get past 90% of your work like it should, but still use some common sense around what you're trying to achieve as an outcome, which is securing your infrastructure against the barrage of AI, quantum computing, and all that stuff. So that's it. That was our table.
Talking about going old school, right?
Yeah, old school.
I took notes on paper and then I looked for the Copilot button so I could summarize it. We get used to it.
Hi, I'm Tim. I'm part of the cyber team at Analog Devices. Has anyone ever heard of Analog Devices?
Yep.
All right, very good. Old school. Go old school. So I'm gonna say here, in the spirit of going old school, our topic being the rise of secure access services edge. And I would say go old school. Remove your firewall, remove your managed network, and remove the belief that you ever needed it in the first place.
Are you going to tell me we're all going to be local from now on?
They're all going to be a network of one on our phone or computer.
Does it sound like?
Absolutely. So secure access service edge, think Zscaler, think Netscope, think Entra Private Access, think Menlo Security, even in the managed browser space. So Island, Prismaxis browser, and think about these points of endpoint access that are giving you key components of otherwise complex agent landscape or complex on-premise network components. Think identity, think posture assessment, think data loss prevention, resiliency, value over your legacy network, and think of deployment in a tier 1 through 4 phase based on business complexity. That was a big conversation at our table. Because we did start talking zero trust, and everyone said, well, zero trust is an unlimited definition. What do you actually describe zero trust as? So the value and the benefits, again, identity, posture assessment, DLP, resiliency, and legacy infrastructure, but all within the single endpoint, again, the network of one, bridging itself to those tiers. What would those tiers be? Tier 1, at its most fundamental level, at any size business, is your biometric identity. Getting into your computer in a more complex way, getting into your computer in a way that only you, the verified person, can actually do. In Tier 2, your hardware conditional access or your hardware device hygiene. Your Tier 3, your software conditional access, your software hygiene. And then in Tier 4, your automated behavior-based response or your behavior-based disabling the account or disabling your access to the application. All being how we would define secure access services edge across those notable platforms, and how we would effectively implement zero trust at an organization of any size. So that's where our conversations were. I did bring up the topic around, for all of us who've worked at a number of places, we would all admit that everywhere we've worked has always been a dumpster fire.
That's why they hired you.
Exactly. So for anyone who specializes in third-party risk or third-party security in the room.
That's an oxymoron.
Exactly. Secure access relies wholeheartedly on a network run by someone else that you can't see. So let's just assume our data is out there and make it easier on ourselves.
Everybody talks about third party. I just want to know where the second party is. You never talk about second party. Like, we're doing this alphabetically. I'm Dr. Z. I'm Dale Zabriskie, the Global Field Chief Information Security Officer at Cohesity. Great to be with you. I think being the old guy in the room, I'm appropriate at the end of the line. I started my career at a little company called IBM in 1981. So that's how old I am. What happened in 1981 at IBM? What did we get?
Electricity.
Not quite that old. Actually, no. I still had under my desk a pedal. We got a thing called a PC, and I was there with, and not even an 8088 on it. It was an 8086.
Yeah. Wow.
64K of memory.
Yeah.
2 floppies.
Oh.
A green screen. No, that too.
Recorder backup?
Who knows? What did it cost?
$3,000.
It was $3,000. You will be in the bonus round. Yes, $3,000 for an IBM PC back then. So, anyway, great to be with you. We actually had zero trust as a topic to talk about, and I'm having no paper here. Just want to say I'm the only one without paper. So. And I did not ask Copilot.
What an old man's box. Box right there.
Daniel representing.
He's trying to unlock his phone right now.
Thank you. The ChatGPT helped me out. The zero trust discussion, we all decided it would be really nice if a vendor would walk in and say, here is the zero trust SKU. Just buy it and plug it in. But it ain't gonna happen. And so it's many components. It's just a zillion things you have to worry about. Not the least of which is what what we like to call the user, or as us in IT like to call them, is the carbon-based life form units that we have to deal with. They seem to be the problem across the board. We could get so much done if it weren't for all those carbon-based life form units. But the thing we really talked about is how important it is, and today, the threats today have become personal to where everybody seems to know about it. It used to be that the user didn't know anything about it. They just come to work and do the thing. And I remember talking to a lady once who emailed a sensitive spreadsheet to herself so she could work at home. Said, I don't understand it. I'm just emailing it from me to me.
Yep.
That's the mindset.
Yeah.
But the threats are so personal and just out there. Everybody's aware. Everybody understands ransomware. Everybody knows that these things are happening. And they're happening to us at home, right? We're getting the emails or the whatever it is, the threats, the phishing. And so it's a little easier maybe to have the conversation on the human side with the users about the importance of protecting assets, protecting your own assets, protecting the company's assets. We talked about speaking the language of the human, whatever language that happens to be, making it real, motivating them, incentivizing them, however possible, and I'll just say it, aka bribing them to act a certain way. But it's a very difficult ongoing task. We talked about how you do phishing tests, right, and examples, and you get these click rates, and one individual at our table was able to bring their click rate down dramatically. But at the other side, we also see that your click rate may not change. It just circulates among different people, right? And your 9% click rate this month is made up of different people next month. So it's constant moving through that. We talked about the importance of data being at the heart of everything and how classification is so critical. I use the analogy of currency. The money in your wallet is, or your purse is like the data that you have in your organization. Some of it's worth a lot and some of it's worth very little. But we tend to treat it all the same when we try to protect it in the enterprise. We put it all together, back it up, and stick it somewhere. So we're overprotecting some data and we're underprotecting other data. And so what's the dollar bills in your environment? What do you need to do to protect those? What are the dollar bills in your environment and how can you get rid of them? Deleting data is very therapeutic.
Yes.
Feels very good, but it's just really hard to push the button, right? And there's lots of people who feel like they, you can't do that, you can't do that. Get your hands off my data. And the aspect of governance, we came back to the bottom line that ultimately something's going to happen to your environment. It may be a well-meaning stupid person, like CrowdStrike. No offense. I know PTSD for some people here, the blue screen of PTSD. The well-meaning stupid person, you know who they are in your organization. You're thinking of them right now.
The CEO.
It could be, absolutely, high risk. Or it might be a ransomware attack, or it might be an outage of some kind. The most important thing you can do is have a plan, and that plan is tested and reviewed and practiced and agreed upon. What is a minimal viable business? If everything went down, if you were entirely down, what would you bring up first? And in what order? Can you agree on that? Can everyone sign off on that? Because when it happens, you don't need all the crap that comes with the problems and the jockeying for position. You need everybody to be on the same hymnal so you can make some beautiful music instead of cacophony of chaos, which is normally what happens. Because the first thing that breaks down is communication. So a big part of having a zero trust environment is knowing that you can respond appropriately and then ultimately recover in time for whatever your RTOs and RPOs may state. So great to be with you. Thanks for your time.